Hello, good evening, and many thanks to you for staying with us on Adoatv. Well, it's a Thursday, and tonight we are obviously on PM Ghana. Tonight, we want to look at the story of unemployment in the country. One of the biggest problems that the nation is actually facing, well, apart from corruption, is unemployment. And we've seen several policies and interventions being put in place by the current administration to help reduce the rate of unemployment. Indeed, in 2016, we saw a steep fall of unemployment rate in the country. In 2017, it was even better. 2018, it even got better. 2019 and 2020, things began to change. And as it is now, with all the policies that have been put in place, unemployment seems to be going on the rise, and we've seen a typical reflection of all of these in recent recruitment processes by the Ghana Immigration Service, the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana National Fire Service, and what have you. The concerns are still ongoing. The conversation is still ongoing, and obviously we cannot eradicate unemployment just within a flash in the country, because this problem and where we find ourselves now is a compounded problem, and it has lived from time immemorial to where we have found ourselves now, especially in the face of what many youth activists are saying is the lack of a national plan when it comes to curing the unemployment canker in the country. Now, NAPCO, it came up, the vice president mentioned that this is synonymous to a more permanent employment. However, what we're hearing recently is not a direct reflection of what the vice president had intimated. There has also been some other policies as well to help curb unemployment. The National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, for instance, amongst other things. But shocking amongst them, I bet you all know, is when the finance minister, who has been highlighted to be presenting the 2022 budget with an almost 23% increment in national spend. Well, we're not going to go into that tonight. Perhaps come Tuesday, we will prepare ourselves towards that. But the finance minister indicated that graduates should now look towards establishing themselves as entrepreneurs. Now, we're also wondering what environment has been created for such feasibility. Now, another school of thought has raised a concern that the shortening of the period of education has brought a lot of pressure to the employment world. Remember, hitherto, in the times of our fathers, they used to go through the Form 4 and what have you, up onto the 6th form and what have you, and they spent a reasonable amount of time in the senior high school up before they get into the universities. And so there wasn't much outflow of graduates into the system who would be seeking employment at the time. This is a school of thoughts that is saying that the shortening of the educational system has also contributed to where we find ourselves now in a country with such rates of unemployment, because we're going to continuously churn out graduates. Well, tonight we'll be looking at all of these with a very fine gentleman, but I'm not going to introduce him just yet. When we come back from this break, we'll introduce my guest and we dive straight into the conversation. My name is Reginald Adi, and this is PM Ghana.
Blue City is a manufacturer and supplier of high-quality fashion accessories. We design and make quality bow ties, flying ties, lapel pins, ladies' brooches, fabric necklaces, African wares, and so much more for your weddings, schools, institutions, bands, choir, singing groups, individuals, and so many more. We use both African prints and foreign fabrics to make your beautiful accessories for you. Oh yeah! Contact us via call or WhatsApp or SMS on 0240-926-564. Locate us at Odoko Official Town opposite Emils Preparatory School. Check us out on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Blue City Fashion. Blue City, creativity and style.
Welcome aboard the safest airline in Africa. With industry-leading safety measures to protect your well-being. The first in Africa to earn a diamond standard of safety. Offering a more contactless, safe, and seamless experience. Delivered with a smile by Africa's first fully vaccinated crew. Creating special memories that bring the joy back to flying, so you can continue making memories with your loved ones. Book your flight with Rwandair today. Rwandair, the safest airline in Africa.
Rwandair, fly the dream of Africa.
Announcements on Adoatv. Contact Adoatv for your general announcements, proclamations and publications, job vacancies, etc. at a very affordable rate. Call 050-92-57754, 020-9494-258, or visit our marketing desk at Stepwork premises. Adoatv, bringing good things to life.
Well, many thanks to you for staying with us. You're definitely watching PM Ghana here on Adoatv Television. My name is Reginald Addy, and as I indicated, I'll be introducing my guest for the discussion to the unemployment problems in the country and the way forward. Well, join me, welcome Dr. Sam Bolanyo. He is the Executive Director for the Center for Greater Impact Africa. And in this, he is also the 2021 Most Influential and Exemplary Leader by the Business Standards Awards Ghana. Most Influential and Exemplary Leader 2021. Dr. Sam Bolanyo, good evening and many thanks to you for joining us.
Thank you very much, and good evening to our cherished viewers across the country and the globe. And I think Adoatv has been doing so well, and monitoring all your activities and your products has been one of the welcoming one.
Thank you.
And kudos for the great job that you've been doing personally and the way you handle economic, social, and governance issues.
Right.
I think you deserve a national award.
Well.
And so we'll note it and see what the Lord has for us.
Certainly. Thank you very much, Doc. Well, so Doc, in as much as we have in this conversation, I mean, when I think about my fellow colleagues, I think about, the youth that you and I belong to. I'm calling you a youth because, yes.
I'm equally young.
Exactly. You realize the problem, the most dominant problem, is a problem of employment in the country. And with hopes recently given in areas like NAPCO, amongst other things, and in very profound promises made in 2020, the running towards presidency, great promises that were made, amongst other things, the people finally gave their nod. However, when you look at the variations, the number of absorptions and the number of rejections, it's like we are moving one step back forward and two steps backwards in trying to solve this unemployment problem.
Okay.
When you think about this, what strikes you?
Well, good evening once again. I think the issue of unemployment continues to be a big challenge to the global economy. And taking Ghana in isolation, you realize that no country can be able to solve employment. You can't have full employment. But the rates of unemployment should be very minimal.
Right.
To the extent that countries that tries to reduce unemployment drastically use some structural models that have really worked for them.
Certainly.
For instance, countries like Germany and Japan equally use a model called the TVET, the Technical Vocational Education, and that is what they have inculcated in their children, and they champion that. And you see, they migrated from grammar education to technical vocational education and make it industrial education. And beside that, they also look at the creative arts industry, which some to a very large extent extended to the hospitality industry. And it creates a pool of employment. And so I'm yet to see somebody who has gone to seminary school, technical student came back and was looking for jobs. So once you have completed technical schools, you realize that then technical students and visual students, they are able to create their own jobs. And only a few that aspire to go higher. And so I believe that issue about unemployment will continue to be a big challenge as far as the world exists. But it's all about the kind of model that we have adopted to be able to overhaul and arrest such a situation. Now, the most important challenge to the unemployment issue has to do with rural urban migration.
Right.
Where rural folks migrate to the urban centers seeking for white-collar jobs. And even these days, they travel far away to the Caribbean and all others looking for jobs. And some even drawn at the Mediterranean Sea and all others. So I believe that the concept of developing the country that is bottom-up approach, will be the safest model for us to use.
Right.
So going that narrow, it's meaning that we really need to develop our various district assemblies and be able to make them more autonomous.
Right.
Once that is done, you see that you expand the local economy, create more jobs, create more opportunities, profile the entire country, and even the youths are able to have much more jobs. Jobs in the sense that we need to have this creative arts industry being championed and also develop their talents, their skills. And recently I heard the finance minister talking about youths who consider entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Absolutely truth. That is the truth. But I wish he says that during the election campaigns. And see the reactions of Ghanaian youths, you see. So we have deceived the youths that anytime we win power, life will be better. Life cannot be better when ones don't have plans for his own life. So we really need to develop the local content by adopting a policy to develop the skills base of the country in terms of entrepreneurship. There are a lot of skills men and women, these craftspeople and artisans in the system. What is the district assemblies doing? So at the end of the day, they are just roaming about, and some becomes even thieves. So we really need to go back, be able to decentralize development. And unfortunately to Ghana, we don't have any better development plan for the country. And so we have substituted national development agenda with political manifesto. That is another recipe for disaster.
Interesting.
So I believe that we need to throw away political manifesto, go back to the drawing board, pick the National Development Planning Commission, champion their agenda so that they reprofile the country, so that whatever party that wins knows where we are going as a country. When you look at even the abandoned projects and the cost it is to the state, you weep. Simply because we don't have any succession plan as a country.
Exactly.
And so we don't have any policy to develop the youth. Most of the flagship programs, like for instance, NAPCO was a very laudable one. It helps in so many departments, ministries and agencies. But on a whole, in totality, last Friday was the last day. So their contracts were terminated last Friday. Tomorrow will be just a week. At the end of the day, you ask yourself, so what is next? We have not really prepared their minds that let's use NAPCO to rather develop their skills capacity so that after 3 years, government rather supports you or the district supports you to be able to establish.
Well, Doc, sorry to cut you in the back. Reading into it, what I find out is that what you're saying is basically the entire idea behind NAPCO to give these beneficiaries usually when you're going to seek for a job, a fresh graduate, they ask for years of experience.
Exactly.
So according to NAPCO, they have given these beneficiaries those years, prerequisite years of experience. They've given them training, on-the-job training, that would equip them, or that would have given them knowledge about the employment world, or the employment world, and then thereafter they can build on their own.
You are perfectly right. But then that is not the main aim of government. There are so many things every government, when I monitor them, fails to tell Ghanaians. Now, when you look at the rate of unemployment in the country, that is around 5-7%. It's very high. Now, when you take that in proportion, you realize that it's a national security concern. So, out of that, it can create instability and insecurity in the country. People can agitate, people can go on demonstrations, crime rates will be very high, social vices will be very high. So at the end of the day, there will be no peace in the country. And once there is no peace, you will not be able to attract foreign direct investment.
Yes.
So it cripples the country. So every government, and even to a very large extent, it creates the grounds for coup d'etats and destabilize the democracy that we've chopped for all these years. So every smart government will look at it from national security point of view. That if you have these about 2-3 million Ghanaians, youths, very energetic that are jobless, it's a recipe for disaster. So what we need to do is to create a mitigating factor. Let's create an interim job for them so that we engage them. So that at the end of the day, they will not be able to engage in other activities that will cost the state. So government does that and call it the flashy programs like the NAPCO that we've seen. It's also meant to be able to buy the conscience of the populace in getting their interest to the government and be able to maneuver that in winning the next election.
Right.
So they are populous programs that are meant to win the next election and not to protect the next generation.
Interesting. Populous programs to win the next elections, but not to protect the next generation. Exactly. Would we say that NAPCO, in your presentation, you said that, NAPCO is a good, policy.
Exactly.
Well, we say that the problem has always been about implementation, and then perhaps in implementation that we can speak about monitoring and evaluation,
Exactly.
and then also allocation of resources. Now I'm talking about the beneficiaries as the resources here, because one problem, peculiar problem that I realized with NAPCO is that people were not aligned or attached to the requisite skills or knowledge that they acquired from their academic institutions.
Exactly.
And there was no other way of assessing what other qualities they had than, before posting them to what field, because they were allowed the liberty to choose which category of employment field they would have wanted to be in. And there was no level of assessment. The basic concern was that, just as we are having with the free SHS, the quality of people being churned out. And so it is not surprising that in a research conducted, a greater percentage of NAPCO beneficiaries indicated that they wanted to be maintained in those government sectors other than they going out to establish their own. Why would the youth of the nation be so scared about establishing businesses on their own?
You see, to be able to achieve food security and national stability, you really need to look at the pros of cons and of advantages and disadvantages of every policy you roll out. Now, every country, for that matter, Ghana, is poised to ensure that we take advantage of economies of scale to be able to achieve maximum production. But it's all borders on education. We are not able to bridge the gap between academia and industry. So we have only theoretical education. We don't have practical education.
Right.
And theoretical education will tell you that you need to be reliant on somebody else rather than take the bull by the horn. So at the end of the day, we need to look at our educational curriculum. I'm in the academia, but I think that we can still do better. Like, for instance, the Wisconsin University, with developing new models, and there are some courses that, even though it's relevant, it's insignificantly relevant. So we need to champion courses that really matters, that can really give straight to our teaming graduates. So until we migrated from that notion, that agenda, that mindset of theoretical education to more of industrial education, we'll continue facing this challenge. But now, look at this. I don't think, for instance, MPP could have done so marvelous, because looking at the Fourth Republic, they have the highest number of social interventions, which, talking about the industrialization, talking about one district, one factory, one district, one warehouse, one village, one dam, planting for food and jobs, all these things, digitization and all, they have so many social intervention programs, to the extent that if the ministers were disciplined enough, within 5 to 10 years, they could have turned this country into a developed country.
Well, certainly,
but
arguably, they don't have. Yes, not had 10 years.
You realize that the attention is about personal comfort and not to leave a national legacy. So at the end of the day, the president, let me use him. The president can developed this model. We have 16 regions. Empower 16 of your regional chairmen. Support them with money. Let them employ these NAPCO guys and let them go into commercial farming.
Right.
Within 5 years, this chairman becomes very rich and millionaires. They will employ thousands of people. What Apostle Safo Kantaka is doing, developing local technologies. You said industry. Can't us at now? Can't we produce our own water pumping machines, wheelbarrows, tractors, combined harvesters? We should be able to do all these things. I don't know why our leaders are so much interested in buying V8. The work of an MP is not to go for war. The military go for war. Even the military that you see around, they are not in V8. Yours is just to make a law. You understand? But we have misplaced our priorities.
Certainly.
And it's because we have set the stage for insecurity. Everybody is trying to provide his own security. So instead of us to spend the resources to develop your people, your citizens, we spend the resources on one single individual. For instance, if one V8 costs about 120 thousand US dollars, that is in the old cities about 8 billion. That 8 billion could have set up a factory in your constituency as an MP. So the MP will not put that as a motion that I need a factory, I need 1 million Ghana cedi to establish a small scale factory in my constituency for my constituents. But he's championing getting V8 for himself. I'm not saying they should do the work by walking to the parliament, but a picker for MP is all right. We have given them bungalows, accommodations, and all others. You understand? So that is why every youth now wanted to go into politics, because we think that politics really pays. You are able to maneuver your way within 3, 4, 6 months. They started putting up big mansions at really prime areas like East Legon and all others. So we really need to develop a model to have a social orientation. We lack that, and I think various governments have undermined the role and the responsibilities of the National Commission for Civic Education.
Right.
So it's just like a white elephant sitting idle.
Indeed.
So we really need to resource them. Then the National Commission for Civic Education will now take the national orientation, social education. Every day they are on radio, they are on TV, they'll have jingles that will be playing throughout the month. So that they'll begin to tell us that from the next year, we wanted so and so number of the youths to go into manufacturing sector. Like companies like B5 Plus. B5 Plus, we paid a working visit to them about 3-4 months ago. They started manufacturing trailers in Ghana.
Wow.
Why wouldn't we invest? And when you look at the whole scenario, it's all about 2 models. You need emotional intelligence and artificial intelligence.
Certainly.
That is what the government needs to invest in now, coupled with the digitization. And with these 3 models, if you applied it, it works like a magic. The country moves from a third world country to a first-class country. And I think that is what the president has seen as a vision when he was in opposition. But gradually, he's too relaxed to my liking. He's too relaxed. And if he's too relaxed, the center cannot host, things will definitely fall apart.
Well, Doc, I want us to throw our focus a bit on the school of thought that says that the time, the duration of education has brought that pressure into the industrial world. Because, I mean, I don't know, perhaps during your time was the sixth form and what have you. And so an individual spends a considerable amount of years in school, such that by the time they come out of school and probably through university, you know, there would have been space enough to absorb them. However, now it is truncated. And so people are born, they quickly go to education, soon they are graduates and they are seeking employment. Could that be a challenge?
Yes, I think so. But there is a misconception.
Right.
And our system. And that misconception is that university or tertiary education is not meant to provide you a job. It's meant for you to reason.
We are now learning this.
So-
Doc, it's sad. I must say, I'm telling you the truth. We are now learning this, and most of these, submissions started coming up ever since the finance minister mentioned the issue about graduates, to go into entrepreneurship. We are now learning that most of the things that were thought were just to equip us in a way, to give us knowledge, understanding, and to see things from broader perspectives, but did not really prepare us for the job field.
Because I'll give you a vivid example. When I finished Polytechnics and the university, I did BCom at UCC and HND accountancy at Accra Poly then, where I proceed for the MPhil and PhD. Now, when I finished as a graduate in accountancy or commerce, I was employed as an accountant in a company in Tema. In fact, I didn't understand anything.
Nice. I see.
The one who really trained me over there on the job is an SS Lever.
Really?
Yes. Who was the accounts officer. The former accountants traveled outside the country, so I was employed.
Wow.
So you realize that it's not about how far education that you have been able to attain, but it's all about structures. So if somebody studied accountancy or accounting, financial accounting in certain school, it's enough for us to train him as accounts officer in most of the firms. The whole thing is that now we have a lot of policies and programs, and even when you look at different platforms, we have softwares that really helps us. When you are a graduate or professional, what really your role is interpretation of data.
Right.
Because we have software that you can train a GSS Lever as to what you do, and at the end of the day prepares your
data
profit
for
and loss accounts, balance sheet, everything, but you will not be able to interpret.
Right.
And so you need a technocrat to be able to interpret, to analyze,
and also formulate strategies moving on.
And so most organizations now don't want to employ like a chartered accountant as an accountant in a firm, paying about 8,000 Ghana cedis. So they wanted an SS Lever who studied accounting, give him 2-3 months training, and he's able to do all the inputs.
Yes.
So at the end of the year, you only need the services of a chartered accountant to do your final transaction, annual financial report for you. So it's all about paying attention to the technical education. And even medicine is technical education. You don't need people to travel, attend schools up to nurses training. By the time people have gone to senior high school as a science student, they should be able to graduate as nursing officers. You understand? You post them to various hospitals. They do 6-month internship. They are able to. And so the demands in terms of remuneration also is low. So that we'll be able to expand the economy. So if government fails to do that, at the end of the day, the system will be choked. There will be crisis. And it's like everybody will be in a state of confusion.
Right.
So we really need to expand the economy by expanding the technical and vocational arena. And that is what is going to do the magic for us as a country.
Well, certainly, I agree with you. When you look at those growing economies, for instance, China, for instance, and you realize that the economy is mostly based on technology, with the nation itself, because they have the technological know-how, they are able to produce almost anything by any means that they want to. Now, these are countries that in the times when we were using the cathode ray tube monitors and televisions, they were already burying themselves in technological studies.
Exactly.
Now, we are in a country that I beg, and our viewers should pardon me, saying that it's retro. Because even as at now, Doc, as we speak, you go to some schools and the children do not really know what a mouse is. I'm not talking about the wireless mouse. I'm talking about the one with the wire. They don't even know what it is.
Exactly.
And you ask yourself that what has been the largest display of technological know-how in the country, and I will bet you it is only in the development of Veronica buckets. We haven't seen any technological development, and it is so obvious that the educational system is hindering the progress of individuals and the progress of the nation in itself. With where we are now, do you think that, I mean, where do you think we will be as a country in the next 5 to 10 years? Are we safe?
Well, a strong economy needs to drive, looking at this globalized move, it needs to drive on two thematic areas, digital economy and knowledge-based economy.
Right.
And the two work concurrently. And so the internet plays a crucial role in these two factors. So we've seen that even markets are being developed through the internet. We have internet banking, internet trading. We now have e-commerce and e-currency. Even the central bank is trying to even launch e-currency for Ghana. And so if at the end of the day we don't have this technological know-how, look at the instance where sometimes we go to the banking halls, we have long queues and we tell you that the system is down. Simply because we have not been able to employ much more technologies into the system. If not because the telcos have really helped us. The MTN, Vodafone, Airtel, Tigo has really helped us with this Momo. Ghana will have been in a recipe state by now. But they have really been able to help us, sensitize us and introduce us to the era of digitization, whereby even about 80% of Ghanaians, including the illiterates, are able to access the mobile money. And so we really need to inculcate that into our educational curriculum. Now, I started by saying that from the beginning, we were doing crafts from primary 1.
Oh, yes.
We need to do craft at the end of everything. There is craft. And there are marks that are awarded. And out of those crafts, people even had scholarships. But these days, we have really neglected crafts and all those things to the background. And it's all about memorizing a phrase, a sentence, rewriting it. And we said that is intelligence.
I remember when I was in the
when
I was in the Polytechnic, I replaced a word. In the lecturer's handout, there was globe, and I replaced it with world. And she marked me wrong. As of now, I still don't understand. Must we learn by rote like that? Like, what's the impact?
So at the end of the day, we only compel the people to memorize sentences and somebody's model, somebody's understanding. Even it's not even current. It's not contemporary. It's archaic. Somebody who wrote a book for some 150 years ago.
Exactly.
We still think that that knowledge is still more relevant than the current dispensation. So we really need to migrate from that assertion and be able to open up the system for creative arts, creativity, logic, reasoning.
Exactly.
So in our times we have what we call mentor. And mentor was very strong.
Exactly.
Though it will make you to reason.
It's sharp.
They ask you if 5 minutes is used to boil 2 eggs, how many minutes will be used to boil 20 eggs in the same pan?
100.
So at the end of the day, it's really helps you to reason. And so obviously it's the same 5 minutes. Because even if the 100 eggs goes into that same pan, the fire, the vapor, all boils within 5 minutes.
At the same time.
At the same time.
Oh, so I was wrong.
So at the end of the day, that is reasoning.
Certainly.
So in fact, we need to develop, once we develop the child's mindset, personally, that is what I want to do for my children. So I'm not foreseeing that as an academician, having a PhD and all those things, my children should follow the same footsteps. I want to craft a different model for them, whereby by the time they are 15, 20, 25 years, they will be able to reason and begin to create things by themselves. And so, if we will not be able to do that, then at the end of the day, there will be an increase in crime rate. Because everybody will be looking for the shortest possible means to make wealth. And so today you've seen on all our TV stations, most TV stations, except a few of your stations who are much more religious and very sensitive to the development of the country. You see all kind of things, advertisement. People are going to occultism, even children. We've seen what happens in Kaswa. Children as young as 12, 13 years are doing rituals, ritual money, killing human beings, taking human parts. So where are we going? So we can't blame those children. It's our leaders. Our politicians are doing it. Those that we have seen doing it behind the scene, they are being sponsored by politicians. And when elections time comes, you can just imagine where some of them passes just to win election. You understand? It's not by force to be a leader. Everybody is born a leader. So be a leader in the corner you find yourself. But if you are forcing to become that national political leader, even we have a problem. I have a problem with our constitution. You know that the constitution that we have is a political constitution and not a developmental constitution. That is why the country fails to develop. And so it's only give us administrative procedures as to how things should be done, but not necessarily how we can make optimum use of resources and how to seek accountability. So I think our constitution, 1992 constitution, equally needs overhauling. And that is where, because if we still have the problem with the roots, no matter how you cut the tree, is likely to germinate by the sense of water. And so we really need to develop that local concept. We have a local concept of developing the local entrepreneurship. Let's do it. A lot of people, you go to Kumasi Magazine and Swame, all those places, there are talented guys. Some can even manufacture shoes to even international standards. Everything suits. But at the end of the day, things that we have comparative cost advantage, we are still importing to the country. When we do that, then we are killing our own local businesses. So until we reduce those importations, things that we can equally produce right here in Ghana, let's put a ban, let's put administrative measures on them. If not, one day, Ghana will become a very big baller.
All right. Well, Doc, you are an economist. And one thing that we spoke about, one thing that emanates from the, quest that graduates, go into entrepreneurship is how feasible the environment is, how friendly the environment, the business environment is to entrepreneurs. So we can talk about banning importation, what's not and what's not. But once we are done with all of that, how friendly is the local economy to the local business?
The local economy is favorable. Yes, very favorable, very fatal for businesses to strive and grow.
With consideration into exchange rates, amongst other things.
Yes, let me tell you, even with the COVID, Ghana's economy is one of the most stable economies in the world. Even with the COVID. So I know that price of goods and services are increasing. But when you take our inflationary rate, it's one of the best in Africa. Yes.
Exchange rates. Yes. I'm sorry. I mean, inflation is more important. Yes.
Yes. So that determines how the rate at which there is an increment in prices of goods and services. Now, I'm saying the economy is favorable. Creating the enabling environment is sure. But the problem we have is that the religious economy has failed.
Which one is the religious economy?
Now, you realize that we have a concept called religious economy, whereby the religious institution that we have should have been able to build their own economy and not relied on the central government.
Right.
So if churches begin to build factories, industries, churches begins to enter into agribusinesses, pharmaceutical industry, they create that pool of employment for their members and their followers. So gone are those days, nobody goes to church, come back, and was looking for jobs. By the time you are done, the church already have jobs available. The church is engaging in other capacity building, sending people to industries, commerce, and all others. These days, the competition is all about putting up a very big edifice. It's all about building this modern auditorium, and it's only 200 people that are inside. The value of money. You see, the church itself is not the building. The church itself is the personality. So we all go to church, we close, we come home, and we are becoming a liability to society. So you ask yourself, what is the impact of religion on our economy? Religion is becoming more populous in nature than making a significant impact in the life of the population. Because if about 75% of Ghanaians are Christians, then invariably every Ghanaian can be considered as a Christian. So if we are all Christians,
as a religious person,
why is corruption so high? Who taught us how to practice corruption? Then definitely it's from the church. Or the church have programs. We don't mind to groom the few people who are committed, who are loyal, who are very hardworking in the church, to even be chairpersons. And we still want to import people, irrespective of how they manage to get their wealth. We still want to give them the juicy positions. And once this is done, we have created the impression that your loyalty, your commitment, your dedication, your devotion doesn't matter. It is your money that matters. And so the church needs to go back to the pulpit. Let's redesign the role of the church in contemporary economy.
Right.
The church really needs to develop a very strong religious economy. Let's create jobs. Let's set up factories. I don't want to mention churches, but the kind of church auditoriums you are putting up, some are more than 10 million Ghana cedis auditorium. And that could have built about 10 factories. 10 factories. And all those churches, we go to church, we close, the church members now carry brown envelopes, distributing application letters all over. So at the end of the day, the youth are engaging in immoral activities. So the ladies, for how long can we continue to tell them that, okay, abstain yourself, abstain yourself? Whilst the person is going hungry. Look at this. If a lady moves from the house to the streets, the cost alone is so high. It's so high. The hair, the bag, the shoes, the dress, the makeup, everything is so expensive to the extent that without work, without any reliable work, no lady can survive just on the base of faith.
Well, yeah, they are surviving somehow.
So at the end of at the end of the day, they engage themselves in unseen activities that all of us are not aware of. You understand? They have about 4, 5, 10 boyfriends.
Wow.
And they devise ways of managing all of them. Because some they are uncles, some they are brothers. So at the end of the day, you understand, we are not facing the realities of the ministry. We are only interested in preaching the word. But as to how the word will be translated into practicality, it's not a joke. Training a fool is really not a joke.
It's a sad one. You've highlighted a lot of concerns, but we have just about 10 minutes to go. Now, one thing I want to find out, with all the positive or the seemingly good, now I'll say seemingly good because I don't know how good I can assess any of these anymore. We have the Nation Builders Corps, we have Planting for Food and Jobs, we have National Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, or even some nurses were even exported to Barbados. And we have Greenhouse Energies Initiative. And the initiatives go on and on and on and on and on and on. Why are we seeing an increment in unemployment in the country?
Well, we have not made it a priority to solve unemployment problems. And so until we come to that point of realization to champion the creation of jobs for the youth as a national policy, as a national challenge, we will not be able to overcome. There is this minister, I don't know him personally, but I've monitored him from far. That is the Agric minister. I've heard that he is trying to contest for presidential, within the primaries, within the MPP. I think that that man, we should do everything possible to keep him out of that. Let this country go into PPP agreement with him. This guy, from where I sit, this guy, if we are giving him resources, he can turn this economy around for us. Let us support this guy with the resources that it takes. Let him go into agribusiness as a private farmer. Within 5 years, this guy will make Ghana to smile.
But he's there as the minister, agric minister. Yet, I mean, agriculture is what it is.
Yes,
in the country.
I think he came up with so many models and programs and policies. But what we have seen for the past 2 years is that resources are not flowing. So government couldn't make it a priority to ensure that what they have planned, looking at planting for food and jobs, look at one district, one factory. The concept that really helps China to develop. You know, these integrated rural development programs, I once said it over here. The concept that has been designed by India in 1978, fully launched in 1980. India was so lazy to the extent that they failed to implement it. Then, early 80s, China sent its economists to understudy this model with India. So they went and realized that, wow, this program, this model can really change. So as at the late 80s, China was one of the biggest villages in the world, if I should put it. No development at all. But China picked this concept, and it's all about one district, one factory. Then they said, no, we have stopped factories, industries in the cities. We want to decentralize it to the district level and to the zonal areas, to various traditional areas. And it gets to a time that to every town, to every community, now, even more or less every family have some form of a factory in China. So until we have come to that realization, what has happened to one district, one factory? Except those that Ghanaians have already started, or a foreigner has already started. Government is not able to have a strong policy, bring in a lot of local entrepreneurs who can really multiply and be able to expand, reinvest money into the businesses and expand and create more jobs and employ more youth. Government is not able to do that. And one district, one factory is gradually becoming a mirage. It's becoming a political philosophy. It's becoming a political ideology. It's just becoming a political, I don't even know the term to use for it.
Wow.
But at the end of the day, if really the government deem it necessary to really develop this country, then I think that we should revisit the one district, one factory. That is the concept with decentralized development to the local and district assembly areas. And that is where the country will begin to see massive development. Well,
so I realize one thing, that the youth are not throwing their concerns so much about certain aspects. Now, mention certain aspects in terms of government policies in bargaining to the benefit of the nation. I speak on matters like oil fields, for instance, and you realize that until the recent increment in our shares at the Golden Jubilee fields, Ghana had a very minimal percentage, and even the increment is still minimal.
Even that one, Prof Mills have really helped us to get some additional 3%.
Exactly.
If not, we will not even hit the 18%.
Exactly. Now, these are some other concerns that, I mean, we're in a country that has discovered oil. Oil has become the thing for us. However, you go in there and you realize that not many of the indigenous people are employed. Same for other sectors, mining sectors, for instance. Same issue, such that the indigenes have to, resort to alluvial gold mining, amongst other things.
Exactly.
Is government failing so much such that every individual may perhaps have to forget about these manifestos and promises that they put in place? You look at NAPCO, for instance, and you realize that it appears to have been just a measure to win power and not necessarily a measure to provide permanent employment. You think that going on into the future, perhaps we should discard the manifestos altogether and maybe look into querying aspirants, what have you?
Yes, I think that is an excellent assertion. You realize that anytime there is an oil discovery, it's really sinks agri sector down. So cocoa economy and agri sector always declines. Simply because with the oil economy, the profit comes quickly, more than the agri and the cocoa economy. So what happens is that when you discover oil, your attention must not be on the oil exploration as a country. What you need to do is to develop a model for the petrochemical industry. Now, there are so many lubricants like the engine oil and all that we use, brake fluid and all others that we use, which we still import. This thing, we should be able to have industries in Ghana that are producing all this. You understand? Even the pomade that we use, all of them are all being produced with the sometimes the excesses of these petrochemical products.
Certainly.
You understand? So it could have a chain of manufacturing industries. You understand? Diversify the economy through the petrochemical industry. But then the politician will not be thinking like that. He's thinking about how quick he will be able to get money. And so his interest will not be of how well to take advantage of a system that will be able to benefit the entire state. So I think that until we are able to do away with this political manifesto thing and concentrate on National Development Planning Commission's agenda, we'll continue to be laughing at the wrong side of our mouth. So it's time that we should come as a country. Let's put our political manifestos aside. Let's all go with political a national manifesto. And that is National Development Planning Commission. For instance, this man, Dr. Nimoy Thompson.
All right, briefly.
He really developed a very strong 40-year development plan for us.
Exactly.
When this man, Mr. Safomafo, took over, he said that it's too long, so we should be able to have it in contingencies. So 7 years is okay. But even with that 7 years, we're still not able to implement it. So until we migrate from that mindset, we will still keep complaining, no problem will ever be solved.
Well, Doc, thank you very much for your time this evening. I'm very grateful for your time. A lot has been learned, but unfortunately, time wouldn't permit us to continue any further. But then the fact remains clear that until we follow a national development agenda, we would always be at the mercy of political and manifesto promises. I'm hoping that with all we are seeing now, we as youth would open our ears, our eyes, and our minds to ask questions. That when we are told that jobs will be provided, we ask, what kind of jobs will be provided for us? My name is Reginald Addy, and this is my job for you. I continuously do my job to highlight those matters that you wish to hear about. Dr. Sam Wolanyo, Executive Director for Center for Greater Impact Africa, was my guest tonight. He is the most influential leader and exemplary. He's the most influential and exemplary leader 2021 by the Business Standards Awards in Ghana. Well, we'll come your way on Tuesday with some more discussions. Have a lovely evening and stay out of trouble.
Ediga